Thebaus is a big league streamer that's become famous in recent years for his unique playstyle. And when I say unique, I mean he dies a lot in his games, but he usually still wins. Last week though, he was banned for intentionally feeding. This has sparked a big debate in the community about whether or not he deserved the ban and what we actually mean when we say intentionally feeding. Okay, whether you're new here or you've just forgotten to do it yet, I highly recommend you subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. We're now over 2 million. We're on the road to 3 million subscribers. You can be one of the first people on that road. Yeah, do it. Subscribe. And like the video if you enjoy it. Okay, so last year we made a whole video specifically about the Baus for our Offbeat series. It details how the Swedish streamer has become famous in recent years for his unique strategy with his main champion Sion. If you tune into his stream often, you'll be used to seeing him die over and over again, but somehow, generally speaking, he'll pull out wins more often than losses. Essentially, up to a point, his deaths don't really matter. But not everyone was happy when he first arrived on the scene a few years ago. A few voices in the community thought this was nothing more than glorified inting. Streamers who played with him accused him of ruining their games, and lower ranked players blamed him for the copycats who died as much as him but failed to actually win. And in January 2021, it seemed Riot agreed with them when they banned him for intentionally feeding. Later that year, Thebaus told me that he suspected the ban came after a handful of high elo players had targeted him.
Basically, in high elo, there are a lot of people that are not very liked. You know, I think I'm one of them. Like there are many people that dislike me straight up. I wouldn't be surprised if there are people that report me every single game, even if I play well, just because they dislike me.
He was eventually unbanned and bounced back. For the last 2 years, he's been able to avoid Riot's ban hammer until last week. The Thursday stream had started fairly normally for him. He won a few, lost a few, but his 6th game of the day was the start of a 4-game losing streak on Sion. The next game, he switched things up and went for Ilaoi, but things went from bad to worse as he lost the game with an eye-watering 2-18 scoreline.
This is so bad. I f***ed up.
And the game after that didn't go much better. This Quinn game saw him die 18 times once again. But little did Thebaus know that the enemy Nunu, a streamer called Kesha, had announced to his stream early in the game that he wanted to camp Thebaus for his teammate, the streamer Spearshot.
Guys, he's doing it on purpose, isn't he? Guys, they have 4 sweepers. What are they? Stop ganking Baus. Guys, we're gonna kill Baus 10 times in laning phase, okay? 10 times in laning phase. Spear shot! Spear shot! It's a spear shot!
I feel so bad for him. Like, what's the counterplay, chat? And his wave's so I'm sorry, Baus.
And after the Baus' first 11 deaths, Kesha wasn't shy at all about his intentions.
Make him 0-20 and get him banned off the game! Yeah! Let's take him down! Once and for all! Let's destroy him! Let's destroy him! We're gonna get him banned! We're gonna get Baus banned!
And well, he got his wish. As soon as the game was over, the Baus was hit with a 2-week suspension.
That is just so f***ing annoying. F*** me, man. What the f***?
No.
What the
Why,
fuck,
Kesha?
man?
Why? Leave him alone. Just let him play the game.
When he announced the ban on Twitter, even his friend Kadril couldn't help but point out the absolute red carpet the Baus had laid out for himself that day. Those last 6 games saw him rack up 20 kills, 22 assists, and 68 deaths. In fact, 45 of those deaths came in just the last 3 games, where he averaged over 15 deaths a game. It seems like that last game was the final nail in the coffin. I imagine by this point he'd racked up enough reports to trigger Riot's automatic detection system. The question is, did he deserve this ban? Some people felt that the Baus had simply been the victim of an enemy jungler whose only intention was to ruin his game. While others were quick to point out that this is literally the system working as intended, even some of his fans felt like the reports he got were somewhat justified. I think there's a couple of issues at play here. Firstly, where do you draw the line between just dying a lot and intentionally feeding? Nobody would argue that dying loads but still trying your hardest in a game is a punishable offense. Okay, maybe some people would. But what the Baus was banned for was intentionally feeding. I feel like that phrase is so overused that we sometimes forget its original meaning. Intentionally feeding kills to the enemy. Now, his critics may disagree, but I don't think you can watch those final games and tell me there was intent behind those deaths. Is it horrible for his teammates to deal with? Absolutely. Should they just have to put up with it? No. But was the Baus still trying to win those games? I'd say yes. Would people be having this conversation about him if he died all of those times but had won a few of those games? The match results may be different, but the intent is still exactly the same. No matter how many times the Baus dies, there's clearly a difference between his games last week and, for example, what Tyler 1 used to do back in the day where he literally announced he was going to run it down and then he'd do just that. But despite us clearly seeing a distinction there, we still call both of those things intentionally feeding. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. When the Baus was first banned for this 2 years ago, gameplay designer director Mark Yetter seemed to acknowledge it was a false positive that would be fixed by the player support team upon review. Perhaps a similar thing will happen this time, but it's already been almost a week now and there's been no sign of the Baus's return. Is that a sign that Riot does see this as intentionally feeding? On yesterday's Nemesis stream, Baus seemed in good spirits when explaining why he wouldn't be joining Champions Queue.
The main reason why these pro players go to Champions Queue is so they can avoid people like me, and like that's the main reason they even want to play that.
I know.
Will the Baus have anything to say about this when he returns to his stream next week? And for that matter, does Riot have anything to say? He's one of the game's biggest streamers, and if this happens again, it'll be something they can't ignore. Is it horrible for his teammates to have... Is it horrible... Me. It's horrible for his teammates. Is it horrible for his teammates to deal with? Absolutely. Should they just have to put up with it and shut up? No. Why is this so hard?